Hey, folks, welcome, welcome to another episode of Indigo's Cafe. We got a really nice show lined up for you, and I really think you're going to enjoy this one. We have some friends from different parts of the world, as always, from Atlanta, Georgia, Czech Republic, and Colorado. So we have two from the United States and one. We actually had another person lined up from Germany, but unfortunately, his responsibilities in Bethel in Germany kind of precluded him being on the show. But hopefully, we'll get him on the show soon, and you'll get to see him also. But before we get started, I wanted to apologize. You're going to see in some of the videos some glitches in the video. That's because we had some internet connection issues, technology. So I'd apologize for that in advance. And also, because the show was pre-recorded, I recorded each interview in different sections. And I generally try to make sure that I'm up on the continuity to make sure I'm wearing the same shirts. But you'll notice that I'm wearing a gold shirt in one of the interviews. So, it's no super big deal, but it's something that I'm sure there's going to be people out there that have eagle eyes are going to notice that. But we hope you enjoy the show anyway. And let's get started with our first segment on the show. It's called Let's Groove. Our very first guest is a longtime friend of mine. We go back many, many years. He's known me probably 90% of my life. We go back a very long way. Tavius Hawkins from Columbus, Ohio, originally from Columbus, Ohio, but now he's living in Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to the show, Tavius.
Thanks for having me. A pleasure.
No, the pleasure's all ours. Thank you for sharing your time with us. So, for the audience, Tavius and I, as I mentioned, we go way back. And when I was a teenager, he was a few years older, he and his brothers, and they were kind of like my clothing role models. And my goal in life was always to learn how to dress like them, to be snappy and snazzy, because they never looked bad. But my parents weren't in the position to buy clothes for me like that, so I didn't make that goal. But what I knew they were musicians, but I didn't realize how good of a musician Tavius was until recently, years later, and I heard some of his music, and I thought to myself, wow, a nice dresser and a musician. Get a twofer. So, Tavius, I have some questions for you. When you first started out, did you start out playing jazz music, or did you start off with something else and then move to jazz from another genre?
Oh, I started out with something else without a doubt. It's funny. I think I was just exposed. I was fortunate to be exposed to some good music in my home. My auntie, my Aunt Mamie, who you know,
Yeah.
she loved music. And she had all kinds, everything from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel, South Pacific, Bernstein's West Side Story, and then we had Johnny Mathis, Brooke Benton, you
Wow.
name it. We were just
All the
exposed to
greats.
so much good music. Yes.
Wow. So then you had all this variety of music, but you got into jazz. What was it about jazz in particular that made you swing to that as your style of music that you were going to play?
You know what? I guess it was just the laid back coolness
Mm-hmm.
of jazz. I found it to be so soothing. It's there. It was therapeutic.
Right.
I loved it.
Wow. Very cool. My roommate is a musician, and he likes to play jazz. You've met him, Fabio. And
Yes.
Fabio mentioned to me that jazz can be very, very hard to play because there's a lot of improvisation, and not everyone can do that. What makes improvisation in jazz so hard for a lot of people?
I guess that would be, Chris, the technical aspects of it. There's chord progressions, key changes, modes, uh, it's a challenge, and oftentimes, just being able to vibe and interact with your bandmates who you're playing with. Are they feeling me? Am I feeling them? Are we trying to
Uh,
take this to it? That's what makes it difficult. It's a challenge.
and jazz is generally not something that you can generally play by yourself. You need a band.
Yeah, well, you play by yourself when you're practicing and really trying to develop your chops, but yeah, it's good to be with someone else. They
Hmm.
read you, you read
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
It's it's fun.
Wow. So, with everyone, there's some kind of person or persons that influence them, that had an influence on how, what their choices and things like that. Who would you say are your biggest influences in your particular style of music, jazz music?
I have I guess, some favorites, and probably three guys that I would try to emulate. And I maybe you probably hear me, you say, well, he doesn't sound anything like them, but guys that I love would be John Coltrane,
Okay, yeah, I know him.
Joshua Redman.
Okay.
He's a beast. I mean,
Wow.
he's one of my favorites that I listen to. There's so many favorites, but I'd say him and then Michael Brecker.
Michael
Michael
Becker.
Brecker, Joshua Redman, and John Coltrane. Those are my big
Those are your big
influences on tenor.
influences. Wow. So I have another question along the similar vein. Okay, ready?
Yes.
You have the power, and you can put together a band of 7 jazz greats, living or dead. You can bring them back and put them in the band for a jam session. Who are your 7 musicians in your band, including, we'll say 7, and you're the 8th person? So,
Okay. Okay. Let's just say on drums, it would be Max Roach.
okay,
Keys, Oscar Peterson.
okay,
My bassist would I'm a, Charlie Mingus, Charles Mingus. Trumpet, Miles Davis.
okay,
My tenor saxophonist would be John Coltrane.
okay,
On alto sax, I'd have Eric Dolphy.
okay,
It's a toss up between him, Eric Dolphy, and Cannonball Adderley. I mean, I love both of them, but I'd also have a multi instrumentalist like, say, Yusef Lateef. I mean, he
okay.
could
I don't
play
know him.
everything.
Oh, really?
Oh, he played oboe as a jazz musician. I mean, he was
Wow,
awesome on it. Yeah,
wow. Well, hopefully one day
yeah.
we'll get to meet him. Who
There you
knows?
go.
It's possible.
That's right.
So that's very, very interesting. Hey, is there a song? Or I know I didn't ask you this question before, but you made me think of this. Is there like a list that you would like to play with this group, or just to get together for a jam session?
Oh, just the jam session would
Just
just be awesome. But certain pieces, certain works. Oh,
right.
there's so many that
Yeah. Wow.
I couldn't name a specific work that I'd like to play with. You
But
know, play with them on, but
just a jam session.
just a jam session would be good enough, man.
Wow.
I would be satisfied with just that.
Wow. So you mentioned Yusef, that he could play a variety of instruments. Is there another instrument that you would like to master?
Piano,
The piano.
still. I started out on that at what 9 years of age. I mean, and I'm work in progress on saxophone for sure, but oh, piano. If that was part of my repertoire, that would be awesome.
Wow. I totally feel you on that one. Like you, my mom made me take piano lessons, but I was too ADD to, and I didn't, and lack of appreciation. And she said, "Oh, you need to come in to get ready for your piano lesson." And it's not that I didn't enjoy the piano lessons; it's just that I was not focused, and just my head wasn't there. And when
We
I
were
moved,
young.
yeah, when I moved out of the house at 18 and I no longer had access to the piano, I really, really regretted that. I remember when I was about 36, I actually bought a keyboard with the hopes of getting back in and playing. But by that time, your life changes, and it just didn't pan out. So,
I understand. I
but
can relate.
at the ripe old age of 60, I'm trying to encourage my roommate to teach me to get back in and to take piano lesson. That's a hard sell. He's not really into it yet because he doesn't think I'm going to stick with it.
He'd
he
be a great teacher. Fabio's wonderful.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He'd be a great teacher.
His concern is that I'll get excited about it and then break off, and he doesn't want to waste his time. So I'm trying to I'm working with him to see if that can happen. But thank you so much for joining us today. And folks, Tavius was kind enough to give us a video so that you can see his great talent. And I'm going to share it with you right now. Here it goes. very, very impressive. Thank you so much. All your hard work is paying off, obviously. It sounds really, really good. Look forward to hearing more coming up from you. Next, folks, on the show, it's time for Up Close and Personal. So let's do that. Let's get up close and personal with a couple of our friends from other parts of the world. So, folks, time for the next segment of the show, Up Close and Personal. And today we're going to get up close and personal with Joe Littlehorn, who is visiting us all the way from Colorado in the United States. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks, Indigo. I'm glad to be here.
So, Joe, I understand that you are some kind of survivalist. How did you even get into that?
Well, it started off when I was about 10 or 11, and we had just moved to a new town. And the new school that I started attending was pretty outdoor oriented. They were full of a lot of outdoor active students. And so it really started, just being surrounded by people that kind of had interest in it. And it kind of, it nurtured it in me and promoted it in me. But, more than that, as I did it more and more, I found that it was just a simpler way of life. And it was one of those things that never changes, really. You think of all the different industries and just lifestyles that people have in the world. And decade to decade, century to century, everything is changing so fast, and it's completely different all the time. But the thing with survival is it's been the same since the beginning of time, and it's not likely to change anytime soon. So it was something that I could return to as something that was never going to change. It was something that I could get good at and retain those skills, and it would always be there, hopefully, to benefit me.
You're right. There'll always be nature. So, Joe,
That's right.
how does you even go about preparing for I'm gonna call it a survival trip, but I think you call it an expedition. So, how do you prepare for a survival expedition?
There's really three things. It's the mental part of it, it's the knowledge, and then it's putting that knowledge into practice. And the mental part is the most important because you're not going to be able to prepare for every scenario, but you can kind of prepare yourself mentally to be willing to adapt and accommodate yourself to any situation that you face just by having a positive outlook about it and by refusing to give up. And sooner or later, at least in my case, it doesn't have to be miserable, even though certain aspects of it might feel miserable. You're cold or you're wet or you miss the air conditioner or you know, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be miserable. And if you do it enough and you get practice with it, you'll find yourself doing things that you didn't know that you could do, and you'll start to enjoy it.
Wow, I like that attitude. I like that a lot. So, Joe, you're out there in the woods. I'm assuming sometimes by yourself. Things happen. Life goes. Nature happens. What's the scariest
hmm
thing that's ever happened to you out on one of these expeditions?
I would have to say the scariest thing was when I was climbing a mountain about 2 months ago. I was down in southwest Colorado, and it had been raining for about 24 hours straight, just lightly drizzling. And I didn't think much of it, other than I was tired of my feet being wet. But that's just what it is. Like you say, nature happens. So it was real foggy. I could only see maybe 150 feet in front of me, and I was hiking up this valley above tree line, and I was nearing the pass that the trail was getting ready to ascend up under the saddle, and I hadn't really been thinking much about landslides, but then all of a sudden, up above me, one broke loose, and it sounded like the whole mountain was coming down. And I had
Wow.
no previous experience with landslides, so I didn't know how fast it was coming. I didn't know how big they usually are. I didn't know how far they run out when they get to the bottom. I'm a little more familiar with avalanches, so that's what I had in my mind. And I did not want to get very bad at things, so I just took off running as fast as I could, try to get off to the side of that. And I was in no imminent danger as it turned out, but it was still scary. And then the other one that I thought of was this one. This one was a little scary, but maybe not quite as bad as that one. This was about probably 5 years ago, and I had gone up with a friend of mine to practice some survival. We were going to go up there and spend the night, and I want to say it was in January or February. So we had quite a bit of snow on the ground, and we went up into the mountains where they have about 6 feet of snow on the level, and we built an igloo up there, but we didn't get it all done before nightfall. So we were in there sleeping in this igloo that doesn't have a top on it, which kind of negates the purpose of an igloo. And I didn't have anything except a full blanket and the clothes that I was wearing. So I was pretty darn cold. But we made it through the night. But I don't think I've ever been that cold in my entire life since then.
Wow. So Joe, okay, so you're out there. Do you have, I don't know, some kind of phone or some kind of way if something happens to keep in touch with people? Like how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I actually carry something called a spot tracker, and it's a little device about yay big, and it has 4 or 5 different little buttons on it that you can pre-program them from your computer desktop. You know who you want the message to send to, what you want it to say, things like that. And then basically when you push and hold that button down, it'll send your message out. So I have 3 different messages currently set. One of them is just to check in and let my family know that I'm okay. The second one is to let them know that I'm running a little bit late, which happens quite a bit with me in my wanderings. And then the third one is if I need a helping hand. It's not quite an emergency, but I do require assistance, and I need someone to come and help me out. That's the third one. If something goes really wrong and I do find myself in an emergency situation, there is an SOS button on there that I can push, and it will call search and rescue, and of course send them my GPS coordinates. It's all satellite based, so I don't have to be anywhere that requires cell phone signal.
Wow. You keep that with you. Never leave home without that. So Joe,
I don't go anywhere without that thing.
exactly. So you also have another passion, which is snowmobiling, right? So how did you get into that snowmobiling? They one led to another, or did you get into snowmobiling first, which led to survivaling or survivalist? How did that work?
They are both kind of hand in hand, but snowmobiling predated the survival days for me. Ever since they first came out with the first snowmobile in the late 1950s, my family has been doing it. So probably 3 or 4 generations. So it goes back a long ways in my family. And actually, the very first thing that I was ever bought as a kid, before I was born, the first piece of clothing that they ever got me was a little snowmobile monosuit. So it's just kind of been a family tradition and something that I have enjoyed all grown up throughout the years. It's been a nice way to enjoy nature.
Wow. Great story. So, are there any kind of events around snowmobiling, like competitions, get-togethers, anything like that?
Yeah, there are. There are actually quite a few. On the local level, we have, of course, the film festivals and things like that, the fundraisers for the avalanche awareness programs and things like that. They have one that they do every year up, actually pretty close to where I live, not too far, where people will come up and and camp in a big parking lot, and they'll ride their snowmobiles around for the weekend, and they have different things going on, different fundraisers. It's a pretty big event. But besides that, they have some, as far as competitions go, they have one that comes to mind. It's called the Iron Dog Race, and it's a long distance snowmobile race that they do across Alaska that spans about 2,200 miles. So it's a really long ways.
Wow.
I haven't done that one myself, but I know a few people that have done it, and it's pretty brutal. It can be.
Wow.
So
So it's kind of like the modern version
then
of
they've
the
all
Iditarod.
exactly just without the musher's cream for your dog's feet. So uh, besides that, they've got something called the Ramshaw, which is a hill climb competition. They'll basically get a rent part of the ski mountain, the steepest and the longest ski run that they can find, and they'll try to go up it with moguls and everything. That's pretty fun to watch, but sometimes people can't stay on, and they'll lose their sled and it'll go tumbling down the hill, and when it gets to the bottom it's in about 1,000,000 pieces. So hope they have good insurance
And a lot of money.
and a lot of money. If you want to be a millionaire, don't be a snowmobiler.
Exactly. So, Joe, what would be the ultimate experience for you? One last question.
Sure. I would have to say it goes back to the survival aspect of things. The ultimate experience for me would be able to go into the woods or anywhere, I guess, really, to be able to go anywhere in the world, in a natural setting, natural environment, and to be able to survive for an indefinite amount of time. That would be the ultimate goal for me. And I haven't I can't say that I'm even close to being able to do that yet. But the thing about survival, it doesn't change. I have plenty of time to work on it, and I think it would be a very freeing thing to be able to just walk into any environment and know that I could be okay, and I could enjoy myself wherever I was at as long as I wanted to.
Well, the good news is you'll have forever to try that out. The bad news is you probably
Exactly.
never want to ask me to go with you.
You'll be teaching me some things. I know it.
Well, Joe, thanks a lot for being on the show. We really appreciate it. So, folks, Joe was kind enough to provide a videos to give us a little taste of some of the things that he does. Take a look at the video. Wow, Joe, that was a great video. Great cinematography, great music, and seemed like a lot of fun too. I think I might have to sneak over and visit you guys and hang out for a while because you guys seem to know how to have a lot of good fun over there in Colorado. But thanks again for being on the show, and thank you for sharing that excellent video with us. So, folks, time for another guest. This guest hails all the way from the Czech Republic. MJ Pishtek. Is that how you say it? Pishtek?
Yeah, Pishtek, exactly.
Pishtek. Welcome to the show. We really appreciate having you here with us. So, MJ, I understand that you are a runner. How did you get into running, and what type of runner are you?
Well, the story began about 7 or 8 years ago. Because I've been running since 2012 or 13. I was a pretty big man, and I had to lose my weight. So I decided to doing something for my health and for my body. So I changed my eating habits and more starting more better eating and foods. And I said, okay, if I change this part of my life, eating and foods, I have to add some type of move and sports, because it's not enough only changing foods and eating habits. So I decided to running, because running was something that I really loved years ago. And I said, okay, running is perfect way to change my body and change my bad habits. So I started running. And the second part of this question, I think I'm probably only trail runner, because there's many types of running: road runners, trail runners, um, uh, stadium runners. And I prefer running on a trail running.
Wow, that is so cool. So that means you get to go up in the mountains, to the woods, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, spending time in the forest and in the nature.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like
And
the best way to go. Wow.
yeah,
So let me ask you a question, MJ. What do you do? Because I know you run regularly, but I'm sure, like everyone else, there's times you just don't feel up to it. So how do you keep yourself motivated during times when you really don't feel like running?
yeah. Well, motivation. It's a big deal sometimes for me, and not only for me, but for another runners and sports active people, because motivation is important, and I think it's key for success. And motivation for me is reaching your own personal goals. So, for example, when I fill some paper for a race event and I pay for this event, my motivation is in this moment race. So if I decided to race, to run, for example, this year on December, my greatest motivation is this type of race. So all my preparation is going to this race. So this is one part of my motivation. And sometimes, you are uh, only physically tired because of works and other
Yeah.
duties that you have, and you have to turn off sometimes. And I really prefer to spend my free time in outside in the forest, in nature. And running is a great combination for turning off and spending time in nature and enjoying creation
Wow.
around us. So this
Wow,
is
makes total sense. I totally get it. So I know because you are a specialized runner, is it hard to find people to train with or to run with? Like, how do you? Because I know that helps sometimes when you have people that are into the same hobby as you are.
uh-huh.
Do you find it easy to find people to help you out with that?
Well, it's probably not big deal. It's not a big deal, because around us are runners, trail runners, road runners. So you can find the ideal partner for running companion. But there is a problem, because they are people in the world. So you probably cannot run with a lot of time. You can spend time with people in the world because they can affect you. So it's a big deal, and sometimes problem because you are maybe tired and you say, okay, today is raining and I'm tired, I don't want to go run. But if you have a runner partner, you can say, okay, today at 6 a.m., 6 p.m., I have to go run because my friend John is waiting for me, and
I
it's
see.
important. So sometimes it is a big deal for me, but I have a lot of friends from congregation or another friends that love spending time in nature and running, this combination. So it's, I think a few years ago it was better than now. I think a lot of moving out, they are not in truth maybe, and they are not running another ones. So I'm not only one, but one of small part of runners here that I
Oh,
can be
oh,
in
very
connection.
nice. Very, very nice. Well, thank you so much. I know you have to go, so you can't spend a lot of time with us. But before you go, I was wondering if you would be willing to share some pictures you have. I have some here with us that he sent folks, and I just wanted to go through these pictures real fast. So
Okay.
MJ sent some pictures. The first picture of you in a lot of snow. What's going on in that picture?
Okay. Well, uh, there are or there were two type of races that I raced a few years ago, and one is in my nearby mountains in called Beskidi, and it's run, no, not run, it's run, but it's race. Only that you spend 24 hours on one peak. So only what you have to do is running up and down, up and down, up and down during 24 hours during one day, and the winner is the one who can reach the peak the most. So
Wow.
24 hours, same up and down. So I was running this race I think 3 years ago with my dad, because you can run solo or with someone another else, uh, and you are, it's a mix. So I was running this race a few years ago with my dad, and it was pretty
Wow.
fun. A lot of snow,
Wow.
cold.
Yeah, looks like it.
Another This
And
another.
when you started off the race, I don't know if this is the same race, but I'm looking at another picture now, and you're in shorts, so I guess it's not the same race. And it looked like it's foggy. It's about to snow. What was going on? What happened? Where is that? Is that the same race? Is that a different race?
No, no. It's a different race. It's if we are talking about the same picture, it's in Poland,
Yeah.
and I this race this not last year and 2 years ago, and it's close to High Tatras, which is the highest peak mountains in Slovakia and Poland border. And it's close to the Slovakia, and I run this race, and it's about 100 kilometers, 105.
Wow.
And 2 years ago that I ran, when I ran this race, it was a lot of snow, because one day before starting this race, it was falling down snow, and there were a lot of snow. And last year when I ran this race, there was no snow, and the weather was like in autumn. It was pretty cold and foggy, and there was no snow, but it was funny as well.
Wow.
So really love this race, because it's I don't know, it's pretty, you can feel lonely in mountains, because you're running in through small villages, you are running through the forest, dark forest, you are running up and down, and all the time you are alone. So it's pretty funny.
Wow. Now, this next picture is a picture of in a place that I know personally because I've been there. I actually used to live near there. You ran in Monument Valley, Arizona.
Yeah,
Wow. So, did you
exactly.
fly to the United States just to run that race, or?
um no, it's this it's funny because this picture is not from a race, but it's only from my holidays that I would in the US.
Okay.
Last year I was in the USA, and I visited a lot of national parks, and the Monument Valley was one of them in Arizona. So I said, okay, it's ideal and it's a perfect place for running.
Ah.
I said, okay, I have to run this place, and it was hot, a lot,
Yeah.
really.
Oh, yeah. I know. I used to live in Arizona for
So
10
I
years. So
take my
I
breath.
know. Wow. Yeah, I used to go camping in that same area
Wow,
where you took the
wow,
pictures.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. There's some other pictures here I'm going to share with the audience of you in different places. I see this one that I really like. It's like you running across a field by some mountains. Ultra something. Looks like Ultra Levine. It's the last two pictures that you sent me. Really, really beautiful. And I'll share these with the audience so they can see.
And that's the reason why I really love to run in the mountains, why I am a trail runner, because you can enjoy the breathtaking views, valleys, rivers, forest, and it's awesome. It's really
Wow, that's
great.
great. I'm gonna just ask you one last question. It's a quick question too. What was your most memorable race? The reason why I'm asking that question, because audience, he actually told me what it was, and the story was so fascinating that I thought I have to ask him this question before he goes, so he can share it with you guys. So can you just tell the audience about that race you told me about?
Yeah, for several times I run that's called Lavaredo Ultra Trail in Dolomiti in Cortina d'Ampezzo, and it's long distance race. It's about 120 kilometers with 6,000 elevation gain. So you're running up and down all the time
Wow.
about this during these 120 kilometers. And I really love this race because I ran this race 2016 or 2016, I think, was my first attempt, but it was unsuccessful attempt. I quit after 75 kilometers, after 40 miles, and I was tired. I was out. My legs were definitely out. I couldn't walk. So I said, okay, I'm not well prepared. So I said I have to try reach this 120 kilometers next year. So I prepared all during the year next year, and I 2017 run this race finally, all distance, I mean 120 kilometers I finished. And it's probably the most memorable race because the Dolomites, Trecime, di Lavaredo, Misurina, and another mountains are really you can I can describe it, but I think the personal experience is it's something that it cannot be described.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted him to share that story with you because I was just imagining him running over 100. You said 175 kilometers? How many
No,
kilometers?
120 kilometers
120,
only.
which is
Okay.
about 120, no, probably about 119 kilometers more than I could run. I am really impressed by that. Thank you so much, MJ. And I have to give MJ a special thanks because we attempted to record this interview before. We had sound issues, but in that brief time, some new technology came out, which hopefully greatly increases the quality of the call and all future guests. So you're the trailblazer for this new technology that I'm using right now, MJ. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate
Very
it.
much.
Send you a warm hug from Italy.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll get to meet in person one day.
Okay, one day. Thank you very much, and ciao.
Okay. Well, folks, that's a wrap on another show here at the cafe. We want to thank our guests again, Tavius, Joe, and MJ, for taking time to share their hobbies and talents with us. We really appreciate it. And again, folks, you'll hear this message repeated in the video at the end, but I just wanted to let you guys know if any of you out there would like to be on the show, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll make the process as easy and enjoyable for you as possible. Thanks again, and you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. Hey, folks, thanks so much for stopping by the cafe today. I really hope you enjoyed today's show. If you would like to see more shows like the one today, just click the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It's that easy. Also, if you would like to share your hobby, passion, or talent, or perhaps you know of someone else who would, let me know by contacting me at the email address at the end of this video. Until then, have fun, stay safe, and explore your world.